absolute dynamite. And boom, it goes.
And boom, the layout goes. Slusta and Decran are on the move. To Decran!
Hi and welcome to London Invite held at Grasshoppers RFC. My name is Alana Archer. I'm here with Rachel Douglas and ULTI.TV. This is the women's final, Iceni versus Bristol, a classic UK Ultimate Frisbee women's division showdown. Rachel, what are you thinking?
Yeah, classic clash of the UK Titans, Iceni and Bristol. No stranger to meeting each other in some of these big games. They've had national finals against each other. Typically, often when we go to European tournaments, a lot of these British teams always seem to meet each other at some point, even though we're there to try and experience new challenges and new opponents. But both these sides really well drilled, looking really great this weekend. Neither coming into this game with a loss, W's across the board, with some really great games under their belt. Bristol earning their spot in this final with a 10-9 sudden death win over Spice. That's clearly an indication there's lots going on in the women's division here in the UK, and we can't wait for this showdown. These two teams haven't really met each other yet this season. This is their first full outing. I think there was a game at Wind Farm in Nottingham a few weeks ago, but neither team bringing their full roster. So really excited to see what they can bring here for us today.
First pull just gone up. Bristol starting on offense. Looks like Iceni have come out immediately in a zone. Hawking with the disc. Scuba across to Link, and it's intercepted by Body from Iceni. Leong picking up to Quan with a backhand break to Body. Bookends for Hannah Body. Great luck, great start for Iceni.
Definitely, that's going to be exactly what Iceni had hoped to happen. Coming down in the zone, that cup really trying to harry those handlers, force them to take an option they don't want to take. Hawking going with the overhead, not necessarily a bad option, a great way to cut through that kind of cut, but that one really sat up, and you can see their Body just getting a great read on it. Went quite high, felt like quite a risky option, and then Body just exploiting that confusion and getting a quick turn and a quick score for Iceni, taking them one up with a break.
Most definitely. I think that zone in particular, trying to push them to the Bristol O-line to pop something up over the top and have that break side wing be really aggressive and hunt out those blocks. So fabulous work by that zone. I think it went exactly as you would expect Iceni. We're hoping, as you said. Let's see. Go ahead.
The win this weekend has been something that the teams have sought to exploit. Before the game, Bristol coaches did say that's something they're looking to do. We see Alice Beeching, one of the coaches there on the sideline for Bristol. They were mentioning that they're really looking to use the wind in this game and kind of utilize it to their advantage. I think Iceni must have also got that same memo. Forcing those higher throws in a gusty condition really gives much more opportunity for defensive plays to be made. Bristol back on offense, see if they can put this one in.
Boyd with the disc. Looking for Oldfield. Nice grab up high, slightly behind her. Looks to the reset for Boyd. And to Link with the flick hook. Again, aiming for Oldfield, but Melvin Tang able to intercept. Hambooth now with the disc. And just a unforced error there with the disc, just bopping out of the hands. Oldfield on the far side. Link across to Boyd. Continuing that flow all the way across to the break side with Andrews. Boyd and Link really building chemistry over the last couple of seasons together. Oldfield and Payne into the end zone. I believe that is in. Might be a couple of questions as to if it was, but Nope, everyone seems happy. That is Bristol on the board. Ellie Payne jumping that disc into the end zone.
Bristol getting into some of their flowing form, finding those resets, happy to work the disc around. As you say, there's been a lot of chemistry building for this Bristol side. Lots of continuity on their roster season to season and bringing in some new talent. The Bristol club, a really impressive development program as well as their elite program. They've got a huge roster. I think it's something like 60 names on their roster, and they're looking to kind of pull their competitive team from there. And as you say, that was a little bit questionable about whether that was a catch and a jump or a jump in, but no one on the field's called it, so it will stand. Yeah, the Bristol team, the Bristol side, really focusing a lot on development and building out lots of opportunities for players across the board, and then they get to kind of select from that those who are competing at that elite level, and it's really impressive to be developing a young talent and getting new faces in the game. And evidently each year they're able to pull a really strong side from that roster.
Really good to see it in the women's division, especially in an area where they are one of the only clubs, one of the main core clubs. Pull by Amelia Durbin, Leong centering to Kwan. Body. Back to Kwan. Just overthrowing Pope there as the continuation. Trying to continue that flow all the way across the field. Durbin with the disc now for Bristol. Johnson engaging the reset. Not getting the option that they were looking for, but finding another thing. Oh, McCarthy, and then there you go with a big layout. Johnson, that is Bristol securing that second break of the game.
Great effort, great movement there. Bristol not afraid to just work it down that sideline. It looked like some of those passes were quite a high stall count release, but really trusting the systems, getting a measured throw out despite the pressure.
Game now back on serve. Iceni obviously coming out with a great start with that zone for the first point being a break, but Bristol now breaking back. So game back on serve.
Yeah.
You see there that replay, fantastic bid
and
by Catherine Johnson.
Johnson, who had the disc on the sideline just moments before, seemed to be in a bit of a trap, but had just burned down the line. Beautiful form, flying through. And Bristol sideline floods the field in excitement. Energy levels, you know, this has been a long and hot weekend. Really important for the team to come out firing, and for everyone on that field and the sideline to keep their heads up and their energy high.
Yeah, you can see players from both teams trying to stay as hydrated as possible. It is quite warm on the AstroTurf, making sure that they're fueling cold bottles and sugars through the game, even though it is still so early on. Roller pull stopped. Emily Potter picking up for Iceni. Across, and a nice bid to secure that disc. Francis Mack hitting toe on the open under. Mack busting up the line. Back to toe. Melvin Tang taking that high disc. Rodriguez with a huck, and Amelia Durbin able to intercept it. Wolf with the disc. Durbin just dropping down there. The disc kind of being affected by the wind. Iceni immediately picking up, and first pass turnover. Martha Payne able to get a hand in there for the D. Payne just dropping the disc. I think having to throw the disc quite firmly right now with the wind. It's a bit of a crosswind on this field based on the orientation. Potter. Looking at Melvin Tang. Doesn't like the option downfield. Looking for a reset. A little bit of a miscom, but plenty of time. Rodriguez. Wu. Back to Rodriguez. Double cuts there, but Chang with the disc. Across to Mac with a huge bid and a grab. Chang, but a flying defender causing a intimidity potentially. Looks like an injury was cooled potentially by Piper. Let's have a look at that replay again. That's the dub and interception on that huck from Rodriguez.
Wind was definitely picking up in this point. We saw a number of turns, great layout from Mac, 2 possession-saving layouts in that game, in that point so far. But the wind definitely picking up here. We saw lots of quick turnovers in succession. And I think that was because at the start of the point, there wasn't too much wind to speak of, and it really just started gusting right when the play got to this corner.
On the far side, Payne with the disc. Looking for Durbin up the line, but Rodriguez kind of in the poaching space. Drops off and gets a hand on it before Durbin can secure that. Potter picking up, looking at him, Booth as the reset. Comes back, Melvin Tang as the fill. Rodriguez. Looks like Iceni in a vert stack. Toe. Up to Booth. Potter. And that disc again, just dying, I think being pushed down by the wind. It is a crosswind, the wind coming from behind our cameras and heading towards the clubhouse. Christy Toe there with a run through D. Rodriguez picking up and hucking it deep. 2 cutters in the area, but neither of them were really that close to be able to make a play on that one.
So we have 4 turns each so far at this point. Excuse me, 3 turns for Bristol. We just saw that number correct. Or maybe it was 4. Up, down, 4, 4. 4 turns per side in this point so far. The numbers are increasing. Stats have been reviewed, and it was 5 for Iceni. Essentially, this is a high turnover point, and both teams, Bristol back on offense now, really need to tighten up, play tighter, play more decisively, make sure they're really sure of their options, because it's been scrappy. But a big one goes up, it's Durbin underneath it, big effort. Not able to come down with that. That was Blady, that was a really tough angle. Durbin hustling to get down there, a big ask. Iceni back in possession.
Booth with the disc. Finding Toe, popping it back to the middle to Booth. Continuing that flow to Rodriguez. Bouncing back to Potter. Great cut there by Wu, but not choosing to go with it. Melvin Tang with the huck up to Francis Mack for an Iceni score. I think all parties felt that as a long point. Happy for it to be finished. And I would love to see some adjustments from both sides for the wind. I think a number of turnovers. As you said, the wind kind of picking up during that point that we didn't really have at the beginning of the match.
Both sides looking to exploit turnovers and get the offense moving quickly. Of course, that can be so lethal, but when the conditions are a bit blustery, you really need to make sure that everyone's dialed in, that you have the right cutting options, and that if you're going to release the disc, you're doing so with due consideration for the conditions. It felt like a lot of those turnovers were, it just felt like everything was being rushed. You want to play fast, but never rushed. Yeah, someone who managed to hold things down during that point, number 12, Francis Mack. 2 possession-saving layouts, multiple turnovers in between them, but ultimately the one who manages to come home with that point and tidy that up. I think that's neat how neither team are looking to represent themselves out here today. So kind of glad to draw a line under that. We're at 2s. That feels fair and just. And Iceni now coming out on D, looking to see if they can replicate their success from the first point.
Link with the disc over to Hawking. Iceni in that zone again. Big mark, but Link able to find a way through. Min with the disc back to Link. I think Iceni have gone to match defense. Hawking finds Payne. Henry going deep. Payne hits it. Great contested D by Van Zyl as the disc soars over both defenders, both the defender and the receiver there.
Zyl really forcing an aggressive line, meaning that the disc sails over both their heads. She had the inside line, so trying to keep position. Number 10, Gemma Henry, had to come and try and attack it early, but that's going to sail over both of them. I love those sort of smart defenses.
Leong to Taylor. Lenton. That reset just popping up a little bit high, bouncing out of the hands of Ellie Taylor. Johnson with the disc to Link. High release to Henry, who manages to keep that in with a bit of acrobatics. Link with a little shimmy shake finds Flissman in the end zone for that Bristol score. Bristol up 3-2 on Iceni.
So we're back on serve. Bristol came out on offense to face the pressure of the Iceni zone. Iceni secured that early break, but we are now back on serve. Big sliding catch from Henry to keep the possession. Finds the steady hands of Carla Link in the backfield. And after moving her defender around, Carla Link lasers that one through to Man.
Henry coming originally from Scotland, playing with Bristol for the last few years. But the Link main connection from assist to scorer, both long-time Bristol players.
Quick shot of Clapham, who just secured the title in the Open division. Now here in the women's final, going to see who can take it home, Bristol or Iceni. Both teams wanting it. Both teams, you know, anticipating that this is a very high likelihood to see this game at Nationals this year. Let's see what they can do this earlier season.
Great layout by Emily Potter. Stands up immediately for the huck. And using the body to box out the receiver, the defender in the end zone, Selena Chang, the receiver.
Chan just with a better read than everyone else on that one. Absolutely ripped deep by Potter. Big arm opened up, sweeping in. 4 or 5 shirts underneath it, but you see there Potter getting up from the layout catch.
Chan doing a good job pushing the defender to the left and then coming back around to the right to make it an easy clap catch for her to come down with. Here again, replay of the drone shot. Just moving across to the left and then turning over the shoulder.
Yeah, great work to come down with that one. I think I like the option, but I think I would love to have seen the cutter slightly shallower at the start of that. That adjustment, obviously the wind is having an effect on a lot of these high discs, these long discs. Moving them, perhaps putting an edge on how the flight path is finishing, but for that to be really safe and secure, to make sure you're hitting your receiver in stride, feels like there's still some adjustments that can be made just to make sure that's a little bit tighter and a little bit cleaner. But either way, Iceni are going to be happy with that.
Quan with the pull. To about the brick mark. Great pull chase by Pope to stop that first pass from going up. Pope with the swat down, face marking Boyd, but checking over the shoulder, knowing that it's coming to that reset. Quan to Van Zyl, back to Quan. Body filling in this backfield. Just overthrowing Leong. Bristol looking for that fast opportunity. Hawking picking up the disc. Hitting Henry. Hawking. Back to Henry. Brian Boyes bouncing back in the middle with that cut. Over to Boyd, who rips one deep. And they come down with it. Kantorowicz. Fantastic cut there. Seeing Boyd get the pop in a power position. Throwing it out to the sideline. Away from where the defender is, just trailing.
Yeah, that Huck, a lot of those throws have been kind of fading away to the backside of that end zone. And actually in this instance, that's exactly what they needed. That kept it just out in front of Kantorowicz. Body well positioned for deep defense, but the disc faded to the side of the field that Body couldn't make a play on. Kantorowicz had a little bit of separation. Body closes that in nicely, but can't make a play on that one without causing some contact. Keeps things safe, and Bristol safely with the score. Both teams really demonstrating that they're looking to keep the defense guessing. Very, very happy to play the small ball, very happy to find those dumps and swings around the back and move the disc conservatively as they're attempting to get it out, but also playing a lot of long game.
Disc on up, Chang picking up the disc. Bristol playing a wool zone. Seen this throughout this tournament so far. Zone fairly passive, happy for them to take the swings, forcing a lot of passes, waiting for a throwing or catching execution error. Iceni with plenty of players back to work between themselves. Chang finding Mac, just a bit short as Iceni turn the disc over. Durbin picking up the disc, shooting deep, and he gets just bobbled over one person's hand. Wolf able to come down with it. Chalice finding Wolf, not quite in the end zone. And that one was Kiva Morel for the score. And that's another break for Bristol, now up 5-3.
Some balletic and gymnastic activities on the front of the end zone there. Sort of looks like a split leap during one of the catches, but Bristol keeping it moving regardless of the poetic nature of it. Keeping that moving, lots of quick passes and eventually finding space in. We can have a look now at that no-look D from Kat Pope in the point before, that sort of supernatural awareness. Looking at the dump, just knows exactly, I guess, can read Boyd's, where Boyd's looking, where Boyd's putting her hands. And Kat Pope just getting into disrupt. We see the balletic leap from Lottie Wolf. And then the safe delivery of the score.
Wolf and Morel, both pretty young players coming through the juniors programs. And as we mentioned earlier, Bristol reaping the benefits of some of the development work that's been going on across the UK.
We just had in front of us, Lottie loves a toe-in, which clearly looking to make some moves and get the points on the board, not have to make the continuation pass, but I think actually might have jumped out of the end zone in that instance, but not a problem. Happy to pass on to Morale and keep it moving.
Kwon with the disc. Bristol throwing that zone again. Bristol being pushed to that, pushing Iceni to that low side. Iceni fighting to try and get the disc up onto the high side. Keeping lots of spin on that disc. Nosovic, Hanton. Kwon, Bristol crumbling into match. Leong with the disc now. Body. Looking to Nosovic in the end zone for an Iceni score. Looking much more comfortable that time against the zone.
Yeah, smooth. That was looking smooth. Really enjoying Kwon at the back with the handler set. Kind of dictating and managing the pace of play. Always available for the reset. Happy to jump into those small spaces. We see here that nice body just finding a space, staying in that space. Putting out a lovely pass for Nos to run onto. All of that, I think, set up by Kwon and the other handlers working their way through. Happy to take the swings. Happy to pop into the middle. When Kwon was passing it sort of from the central field up towards this high side, which is where a much more desirable side to have the disc on, you can see always making sure to put a little bit of edge on the disc, gaining a few yards, not even just leaving it as a lateral cut, but always gaining a few yards. Really effective way just to sort of eat away at that defense and chomp your way down the field.
Absolutely, and you need to have those players that are confident throwing sometimes a little bit scary throws against the zone, but making sure that we have somebody who can throw upwind, throw through that fear, and keep pushing the disc to the high side.
Lovely pull from Potter. That one just sitting, giving the defense lots of time to get down there.
Iceni throwing a zone in their own right, seeing success on the first point. Toe running through, trying to really put pressure on, but Payne able to get secured on the disc. Boyd now trapped on that far sideline, finds Hawking, and again, Hawking, one of those confident throwers to keep the disc up on the high side for Bristol's half. Boyd now finds Oldfield. Brian Boyce. Iceni have broken into match defense. And Chen with a run through D. I think in that transition caused a bit of chaos for the defense, kind of getting themselves into position. It can be hard sometimes for an offense to see actually what is happening here. And Iceni taking advantage. Potter finding Toe. And just overthrowing Chang. I think a bit of confusion as if they were the intended receiver. Boyd with the disc. Hitting Brian Boyce, but it just bounces out of the hands. Nat Oldfield trying to get the disc in play. Hambooth picking up. Nice take in by Toe. To Potter. From the far side, great defense by Link.
Doing just enough. Didn't get a hand to it, but sometimes you just need to psych them out.
Just enough to fluster Rodriguez. Oldfield now. Payne all the way up to this near sideline. Link with the disc. To Oldfield, and it looks like there's a pick being called downfield.
Oldfield is entirely alone in the middle of the field. A bit of discussion, I think, about where it comes from. Is it a case that the disc has to go back? Could the defender catch up? But I think it happened long enough ago that the play was disrupted, and actually they just need to tidy things up and reset back to that Carla link with the disc.
With the around to Oldfield, who lays out big bid, full extension coming down with it. Then breaking that mark to hit man in the end zone. Great walk there by Bristol to punch in the goal.
Massive effort from Oldfield. Full layout to catch. And then the calmest and smoothest of break around throws. Hits man right in the chest. Runs onto it, no problem, no defensive play to be made. Really impressive to kind of bring the intensity of the layout. We can see that again here, full extension, pops up, just takes a moment, and then that around. Actually, perhaps not a break throw, but a lovely throw nonetheless. Excellent effort, and I'm sure really well appreciated by her teammates. Great for keeping the energy high. Bristol and Iceni both are teams that really work hard for each other to keep heads in the game, energy flowing, keeps the celebrations, makes a huge difference to how they then play and deliver on field. And I think watching one of your teammates, like Natalie Oldfield, go above and beyond really can help amp up those vibes, keep you fired up.
Pull going up, Quan not taking that first pass due to a great pull chase. Van Zyl hitting Roland. Finds Leong, big undercut, who shoots one to Pope. Great leading pass there, perfectly weighted. Sometimes over the course of the weekend, we've seen a lot of those go up and actually overshooting the thrower overshooting the receiver. Apologies there. That one perfectly weighted for her just to run right in stride to catch the disc in the end zone.
And you could see that play progressing. Roland slicing through the middle really nicely, finding the right opportunity. Leong catching that one high, and Pope anticipated, trusted Leong to come down with it. You could see her seeing that, she's got separation from her player and just turning the jets on, firing deep, and with that beautiful waiting from Leong, able to catch that one and raise it in the air. The classic Cat Pope celebration, hands in the air, bows in her hair. She's having a great time, loves to be here, loves her team. Catch that photo on Instagram later.
Great walk, like you said, by Pope there. Gambling. She trusted that Leong was going to take that disc high under pressure, and she didn't wait for it to happen. She made her cut, gambling, knowing that if this is going to happen, I'm going to be cutting. If it doesn't come off, that's okay. I can come back under, I can clear hard and give the space to one of my other teammates.
Yeah, I think the anticipation and trusting that, you know, if this happens, what's going to maximize the opportunity for our team, that's what we should be working towards. And if it doesn't, then we can adapt, is what both teams are looking to bring here. And we've seen really inspired moments of play.
Bristol with the disc now, Hawking. Big around to Johnson on the near side. Sorry, Andrews with the disc. Link. And just too far for Andrews. Stopping the roll. Iceni kind of signaling, let's take a breath, let's take a breath. Potter picking up. Hitting Smith on the far side. Looking to hit in the middle of the field, but Link with the poach block. It looks like that was a cool, potentially. Here we get a replay of that poach block. Link coming off of the third handler on the far side to get in there. The cool was on the field. Looks like We have some hand signals that it was a travel. I'm not sure on which throw they are speaking of.
I think it might have been the throw before Nos's throw, hence why it's a question of the turnover, not just standing. If it had been, yeah, we can see here the hand signals from Hocking.
Looks like it must be a travel from Potter.
Yep, that's right. That's why it's come back here. A gift for Iceni, an opportunity to keep possession now.
Engaging the reset. Toe open on the far side. Back to Potter. And a run through D there by Link. Reading the play perfectly. Hitting Kantorowicz. Back to Link. These two GB Women's Masters captains together. Henry now. Big fakes. Ops quick popping back and forth amongst the three that are back in the handler space. Hocking indicating what she wants from Andrews. Henry swinging all the way across to the far side with Hocking, who's looking deep and again hits Link in a nice play there. Lead pass for the Bristol score, up 7-5. With 34 minutes into the game, about halfway for a 70-minute game.
Yeah, halfway in time, but half will only be achieved here on the field when a team scores 8 points. Bristol probably hoping that they can get a break here and take half in a decisive fashion. You can watch that point again. Hocking, beautiful flat disc down to an unmarked Carla Link, bookends for Link. Getting that great run through D earlier in the point. And then somehow just left. Oh, I see there was an under stutter step. Just managing to turn the head of her defender. And she's got such power. We saw that on the run through D, just turning the jets on, sort of reading the play. I don't know, I hesitate to say baiting. I don't know how intentional it was. Potentially baited, potentially opportunist, either way. You can put put the jets on and fire on through, get the run through block, and then just turn her defender around in the end zone, jet up the line and receive the score without too much bother. Carla Link.
I think the Link D really coming from the fact that she was on the handler, the third handler that was the most upwind, thinking that shot's really unlikely, and if it does come, it'll pop up really high and I'll have a play. So coming in and able to get that block. Iceni now on offense. Quan with the disc. Finding Van Zyl in the reset space. To Quan. And Stewart with the D. I think poaching off of that handler pairing. Perfectly read. Big bid there. Another one by Johnson, who had the big bid to score. Unfortunately, just throwing behind Wolf. Iceni having another chance. Pope to pick up.
You can see that again. Wow, trailing edge layout. Great effort. Iceni trying to get a layout themselves, but not to be.
Bristol back with a chance to break. Disc on the far side. Stewart. Wolf trying to get that disc. Maybe a little bit too casual with one hand. It is windy. Discs have to be thrown with a bit of zip and enough spin so they don't stop bobbling.
Yeah, one-hand catch can be difficult, but I think sometimes, you know, that one looked a little bit lower, maybe around knee level. Can be really difficult to get both hands around that.
Wolf able to really contest Quan in the air there. and do enough to cause the Iceni turnover. Stewart with the disc now in the middle. Looking for Taylor with nice toes to stay inbounds. Immediately looking deep to Durbin. Just overthrowing her. Field position in their end zone. Iceni with a full field to try and get back their hold.
We saw the Bristol defense doing a great job of forcing the handlers to keep moving backwards, dump and lose yards in the last possession, which ended up creating that opportunity for the defense to kind of poach off and read the play. Bristol will be looking to replicate that, but Iceni at the races, finds body in the middle. A high one. Can Pope bring it down? No, it will be intercepted.
Stewart immediately looking deep for Ruth Taylor, but again, overthrown going that direction.
I like that both teams are still really trying to make sure that they're stretching and they're using their long game. I don't think that was a bad option. You had two shirts you can see there streaking deep. Ruth Taylor is a very impressive athlete and able to chase down lots, but just everything needs to be adjusted for the conditions, and at the moment we're not seeing that, and that errant throw from Pope ends up in Durbin's hand. Bristol getting it moving quickly. Would love to put this away.
Taylor bidding for the disc there. Van Zyl also bidding defensively.
A little tender moment.
Tender moment. Stop for a second. Not sure if any foul was going to be called. Double checked. Everybody okay? Did it affect? Nope. Little hold of hands as they both get up. It's all love on the field. Leong and Quan working as the Iceni back pair. Finding Pope. Quan to Van Zyl. And a bit of a miscommunication or an execution error there between Van Zyl and Lenton. Like to see a replay of that one when we have some time, but in the meantime, Bristol on O. This D-line really pushing the Iceni O-line. Durbin with the disc into the end zone, and Johnson having a game, able to grab that one just over the shoulder of Pope.
Really impressive. From this angle, it looked like it was an overthrow and a sort of lead pass. I didn't even see them making that play in the end zone, but well done to Bristol, managing to clean up what was another really scrappy point and take half with a couple breaks under their belt now. It's half here. Bristol 8 points against Iceni's 5. We can see again that inside pass that led to a enormous layout grab.
Johnson having a fantastic game.
Beautiful.
Wow.
That's really fingertip stuff. So impressive, the physicality.
Here's the assist to Durbin throwing. I thought it was for Wolf when the disc went up in real time.
Yeah, similarly, Durbin here with the vision. I similarly thought it was.
Great work for Johnson, keeping her eyes on that disc. Giving Bristol the break, going into half, 8-5 against Iceni.
Yeah.
Whilst these teams take a bit of a break during the halftime, we're going to take a break here. We'll be back after a word from our sponsors.
Shopping Zillow and need a trusted resource for your real estate questions? Want to check on loan pre-approval? Reach out to HomeForce, an all-in-one home buying service engineered for ultimate players, fans, and friends. The HomeForce team provides services in real estate, mortgage financing, insurance, and much more. No pressure, no commitment, just trusted advice.
What are they, spaceships from Mars? No, they're Frisbees. Watch it soar. It flies way around like a bird. You can even run for a pass. You can play all kinds of games. Isn't it amazing? Frisbee Flying Saucer. Yours at toy, drug, and department stores.
And we are back after the halftime of the women's final. Bristol up 8-5 on Iceni. Good game so far. 3 breaks by Bristol and 1 for Iceni, but Bristol breaking to take off.
Yeah, it's been a really tight game so far. Bristol managing to secure those couple of breaks to keep them ahead, breaking to take them into half. But really, like, the sort of the play on the field has felt really well matched. Iceni here will have had a chat during halftime, trying to figure out how they can bring that focus, tidy up some of their mistakes, and really contend with Bristol and try and close this gap down.
Bristol out of half, throwing that zone again. They have found success over the course of the weekend and over the course of this game with that zone. Looking for Toe. Big bid by Piper. Toe coming in with it. Looks a bit shaken up. Cooling an injury. I know they can't hear me, but I would probably check that disc. It looks a bit tacoed to me.
Yeah,
Toe walking off in her own.
Someone's on the case now, gesturing for a new disc.
Great bid there by Toe. Saving the possession.
Oh. That one thrown in from the sideline and just scooted on over right to exactly where it needed to be.
Emily Potter coming in for the injured Toe. Hoping she's okay. Potter right on the end zone line. Finds the reset in Chang. To Smith, and it's a bubble and a drop right in the end zone. And that from Stewart, really low, but Martha Payne able to pick it up. Stewart again. Playing in Callahan country. Stewart, stool count must be getting high. Throws a bailout. Rodriguez to Potter. Chang with the disc. Backhand huck. Looking for Rodriguez, but both Martha Payne and Emily Stewart there. Stewart, I think, the one able to pop that disc up and over Rodriguez.
Great awareness. Felt like that was just a millisecond moment to react. But Stewart sensed what needed to be done, maybe got a little bit of cat pope about her. Some of that supernatural awareness of where the disc is, and just gets a tip on that, making it very difficult, not able to recover.
Amelia Dubbin with the disc for the Bristol. D-line. Stewart looking at Dubbin, going up the line. Stewart looking, Dubbin hucking deep to Piper. Not sure if that was the intended throw. Leaning back a little bit, did catch up quite high. Some nice flow there by Bristol, but an unfortunate drop by Chalice. Giving Iceni's O-line a chance. Smithy throwing the disc. Chalice able to get a hand on it. But Melvin Chang coming down with it. Gets up, immediately hooks it deep to Emily Potter for the score. Dirty hold for Iceni, but hold was needed coming out of half.
I have absolutely no idea how Melvin Tang came down with that one. You could see that as this disc went up, oh, it's Potter that's looking over this way. Melvin Tang manages to take a step forward. Potter had no clue that disc was in the air. And I think maybe Potter was the original recipient, unclear. Melvin Tang, no business cleaning that one up, but got sticky fingers, sticky hands, able to come down with it really well. As you can see, she just tracks it, even as the defender gets a hand to it. And then, again, just keeping composure and putting that really lovely pass out to Potter, who didn't hang around to check everyone was okay, just thought, time to see this one over.
I agree. I think that Potter was the intended receiver for that disc. As Chalice got a hand on it, Melvin Tang, fantastic reactions and focus to come down with that one and avoid contact with Chalice on the ground.
Yeah.
As you say, Potter immediately striking deep, wide open in the end zone.
And that's what we spoke about, that anticipation, like trusting that your teammate is going to come down with it. And if they don't, then you can recover. But if they do, then you want to be absolutely exploiting the opportunity. Potter being very businesslike, keeping that cut going, and Melvin Tang with the skills to make get the disc to her. Bristol getting moving in the face of this Iceni zone, happy to swing it to that far sideline. Iceni now trying to clamp down, having to go backwards, find Link and over to Boyd.
A little chip shot up over the top. Henry able to save it, looking for Brian Boyce, who scoops that one up in the end zone. A couple of questionable options, in my opinion, but all coming to fruition for a Bristol hold. Bristol up now 9-6 on Iceni, 20 minutes to go.
Yeah. We can see again, oh, that deep pass into the end zone was lovely. Just enough space for Brian Boyce to run onto it. But that one into the middle, as you say, Gemma Henry coming down with it, but it looked a bit messy. There were two white shirts, and I think maybe it was just a game of the odds. But it looked like there was a really well-placed defender who maybe had a bit of bad luck not being able to knock that one away. It wasn't a safe option, but again, it's tough, you know, to criticize something that works. They got the score on the board, they figured it out, but didn't feel like the neatest, and it didn't feel like, you know, as a team that are training not just to be able to come up against each other at nationals, at regionals, at nationals, whatever, but also to go to Europe and try and really be in contention for some of those top spots. You need to make sure that your decision making and your execution are all going to be reducing the opportunities for defensive plays. And although they might have gotten away with it this time, I feel like that's the sort of thing they might want to have a second thought on. Oh, we're getting it confirmed that everything went to plan. That was exactly per the playbook. We'll need a little fact checking from the coaching staff afterwards.
Hambooth picking up for Iceni's O-line. Again, Bristol throwing that zone. Looking for the bailout option. Chan able to get a hand to it.
Oh,
but macking it away.
There is a foul call on the throw, and I think the foul might have been an accidental contact with the face of Lottie Wolf.
Injury also being called. Lottie Wolf coming off.
Nice handy ice bag next to the side of the field. Take the hit like a champ, and now a little discussion to resolve how that's gonna work out on field. Chi Ling Wu, oh, signaling that it is a turnover. High stall count throw. The Bristol defense absolutely smothering any of the reset options. Such a shame that it wasn't able to come off, but Bristol now facing another opportunity.
A fast start there. by Bristol. Stewart looking for Ruth Taylor, who came in as the injury sub, but just overshot. Bristol now having Iceni all the way back in their own end zone. Potter to toe. Hitting Booth, keeping the disc up on this high side. To Potter. Nobody there from Iceni on the far sideline for that continuation. Looks really disconnected between where the poppers are deep. Potter able to find one up over the top to Mac. Wu to Potter. Now a couple of Iceni players on that far sideline. Iceni bringing 4 back into the handler set. Wu to toe. Back to the middle for Potter, who throws up and over to Melvin Tang. Mac was also there as backup. Trying to crash through the cup. Toe able to get that one as it drops down quite low. Dishing it off to Potter. Swing across to Melvin Tang. Trying to make that front 3 run. A good way to try and break through one of these passive zones. Christy Toe. Trying to indicate to the receivers downfield where they want. We have Potter, who's just hucked the disc deep, and it's just too far for Melvin Tang. It does look like there's a stool out being called on Christy Toe at around the halfway mark. It was accepted based on the hand signs. So good spirit there from the Iceni side.
Melvin Tang looking like sort of winding up for a bid and then maybe realizing it's a bit too far, pulling out of it. Thank goodness she didn't waste the effort, because that would have come back regardless.
Durbin picking up for Bristol. Mudd. Chalice. Stewart. Nice high take there by Hannah Mudd. Taylor to Chalice. This Bristol D-line getting dangerously close to the end zone. Stewart to Orcock. Looking quite abandoned. Ruth Taylor coming back. And jamming it into Stewart for the break. Bristol now 10-6 up on Iceni. Really threading a needle there for the score.
Yeah, Bristol just feeling, I don't know what the difference is. I can't really put my finger on why Bristol have this lead against Iceni outside of, you know, just a few percentage points more luck or more focus perhaps in some of these plays. Bristol were having to work really hard and sort of, as you say, like jam that one through, working in small spaces. It felt like Iceni were really rising to the challenge of that zone after initially perhaps not having the most ideal setup, really showing class in how they worked their way around it until they kind of found the right solution. Potter throwing some really lovely, creative but well executed swing passes, as you said, to keep that cup moving. It felt like they had a lot, if not all, of the elements of success, but they keep falling short, and I think that's often in that sort of execution at the last minute. The Bristol defense is really stifling, and Iceni have been struggling to find those resets. But similarly, Iceni are putting a lot of pressure on with Bristol, so it's just hard to say like what is really the difference between these two teams in this moment. And I don't know if maybe Bristol just have that slightly more energetic advantage. I don't know if they've just got that slight more fluidity and gel as a team, slightly better drills maybe. It's really hard to say, but at the moment this feels like a game of equals, but Bristol just keep getting that slight advantage and coming away a little bit more successful.
Iceni's O-line back out on the field. Van Zyl trying to hit Pope over the head. Body there to clean it up. Roland and Pope walking between themselves. Back to Roland. To Van Zyl. Mud also with a hand on the disc. It's going to be one of those conversations as to who had it first.
If in doubt, it will stay with the offense, and it looked to be fairly
Oh, it's so hard to tell
simultaneous.
because of the defender in that space.
Yeah, very close. Oh, okay, Zyl is accepting that as a turnover. An interception.
From that first replay angle, it was really difficult. Taylor in the space. But Bristol with possession. Mud with the disc. Ruth Taylor with that inside backhand hook. A bit of miscommunication between Taylor and Renata downfield. I think she had just started coming under
Yeah, the cut wasn't
from the
there.
first fake to move the mark from an around backhand.
The
Then
cut,
for Ruth Taylor to throw that inside.
the cut just wasn't there. Not got that communication with the downfield. I think in isolation, I think that's a really interesting shot, and it came out well, I think, for what was intended. But obviously, you know, the throw is only as good as the cut that can receive it. So that one's going to be a turnover. Just lacking that awareness and that connection with the downfield.
Body to Leong, who winds up a huck themselves to Van Zyl. Across to the far side, Alice Hanton, Van Zyl to Body. To Pope, come back to not travel, and Roland in the end zone. That was great flow from Iceni, walking the disc from the middle of the field across to the far side, bringing it all the way back to the near side for the score. Really punishing the defense there.
Maybe just getting out of their own heads a little bit. I think the pressure on defense from Bristol forcing Iceni perhaps to sort of overthink things, and they're just able to run away with it. Pope quickly getting her feet back on that end zone line so that she can exploit rollage in space. Really lovely flowing play. Felt very natural from Iceni. Keeping in this game 10-7, 61 minutes. Not sure that if we're going to make it to 15, I think we might end up playing to a lower number. Iceni really going to have to get some breaks if they want to be in contention for the title here at London Invite.
Well, if there's a time that Iceni need to get a break, it is now.
And then
And then the next one, and then the next one probably too.
Yeah.
But it starts here.
Yeah, you have to start with one. Focus on the next point and try and really make it yours. Potter with the pull.
Hawking to Boyd. And a great run through D, trying to put Nat Oldfield into that isolation space, but Chen reading it perfectly and getting in front of Oldfield, who I don't think knew she was coming. Potter picking up the disc for Iceni on the sideline. Lots of cuts all kind of happening at once, but Melvin Tang, Mac to Rodriguez, keeping inbounds to Chang for that break. You heard it here first. They had to get that break.
They had to get it. We said they had to start with one, and they gave us one. That is a really, really efficient break from Iceni. I think an efficient sort of turn and a punishment, the most efficient turn and punishment that we've seen so far in this game, perhaps. Really nice forethought.
I think you asked the question earlier, what is it that Bristol have that Iceni were kind of missing? And just looking at some of the stats, based on when the breaks happen, Iceni's O-line struggles to get the disc back off of Bristol once they've turned it once.
Yeah.
Bristol's D-line offense just converting a little bit more often. A timeout has been called on the field. We're going to take a quick break ourselves, so here is a word from our sponsors.
Lightspeed VC, a global venture capital firm, proud to sponsor excellence and team cohesion worldwide. I worked for a Michelin star chef making gelato in Paris. I had my own restaurant in Nicaragua and a food truck in Australia. Why wouldn't you watch me? Check out my YouTube channel.
Always on the move? You can keep up to date with ULTI.TV on all of our social media channels. Like, follow, subscribe, share us with a friend, or send us a message just to say hey. Thank you for supporting us in our mission to grow Ultimate everywhere.
Welcome back to the action. Bristol, O-line. Link hitting Oldfield with the open under. Back to Link. Oldfield striking deep, making that space in the under lane for Gemma Henry. To Boyd. Henry on the far side. Finding Oldfield. Back and forth between Oldfield and Boyd before finding Payne downfield, who winds up for man. Big layout there by Hannah Leong. Not sure if she was able to get a hand on it, but nonetheless, turnover from the Bristol side, giving Iceni's D-line
Yeah, I think that's actually going to come in
their chance.
quite a bit earlier. I don't think there was defensive contact with the disc. I think that was actually out pretty much from more or less where it was thrown. That is going to come back in ahead of the end zone.
Leong to Van Zyl. Ellie Payne with the D. And a miscommunication between Payne and Henry in the end zone. A gift back to the Iceni D-line. Another chance to play offense.
Payne bringing some huge energy there on D. A layout to try and stop the catch, and then a block on the pass. If at first you don't succeed, just give it another go and I'm sure you'll get a block. Really great work. Bristol really wanting to keep their advantage.
Taylor with the disc now. To Van Zyl. Lenton coming back to Phil. Quan. Taylor. Finding Hannah Leong in the middle. Lots of quick, fast movements there from Iceni. Maybe needing to take a second. Causing a turnover. Bristol back with the disc. Hawking. Oldfield. Finding Gemma Henry. Looking into the end zone. Maybe with a little bit of tunnel vision. Didn't see Ellie Taylor, who's quite rapid. intercepting the disc before it reaches Ellie Payne for the score.
Yeah, Ellie Taylor, often hard to anticipate. She's able to cover ground so quickly. In that instance, I think was already in the lane, and you see that somewhat furious slap demanding that Iceni get another go at this.
Maddie Leong to Ellie Taylor. Quan. Back to Taylor. Ellie Payne with the defensive play, trying to go over the shoulder of Taylor. Foul being called, immediately accepted. Taylor with the disc.
Yeah, you can see on the replay, heavy contact. Accepted, I think, without too much discussion. Quite hard to argue anything else.
She does try and crawl over the shoulder there. Lenton with the disc on the sideline. Immediately looks to swing it off to the center of the field. Great movement there by Iceni, moving it all the way from sideline to sideline. Taylor to Quan. Looking for the huck. Opts out. Finds Leong. Pop up to Inosevic. Quan.
Oh, you can see Quan looking, but just
Van
keeping
Zyl.
calm.
You know what Quan wants, and it's a boost. But Lenton with the disc now. Taylor. Back to Quan. Iceni close, as close to the end zone as they've been thus far. Critical to stay patient. Van Zyl popping it into the end zone for Ellie Taylor. That is a break for Iceni, bringing the score to 10-9. 17 minutes has just gone. I think maybe after the point was scored, it's going to be very close to if it was after the point or just before the score happened.
Yeah, that is very difficult to say. We will leave that to the coaches and the captains to resolve. They can let us know. Just going to have another look at the score. Yeah, Ellie Taylor keeping toes nice and neatly inside that end zone line. Ellie Taylor coming back a lot into the handler set for the reset in that point, in that offense. Typically more seen downfield, but a really versatile player, and with the speed that she can bring and the way that she's able to get free, it's really effective and can be a threat all over the field. So here at London Invite, you can see Team USA going into the tunnel. They are coming out for the final here at London Invite. That will be the mixed final, USA versus Canada, a showdown for the World Games squad, all in prep for them meeting in Chengdu, China in August. We've had some unbelievable games from, across the divisions, but the World Games squads are really just bringing some other energy. And we're so privileged to be able to bring you that final right after this. Here it has been announced it is a game to 11. Bristol in possession.
Hawking with the disc, finds Oldfield. Disc goes up, Henry underneath it. Back to Stewart. To Oldfield, takes the disc high. Ellie Payne, the classic two-handed clap catch over the head. That little bounce 7 cut from Carla Link, but it's Saskia Kantorowicz that catches the disc in the end zone for Bristol to take the win here at London Invite in the women's division. 11-9 over Iceni.
Yeah, a shame for Iceni. Looks like they were getting their heads back into the game, but Bristol just managing to be that touch more clinical in the early stages, getting a few more breaks on the board. You see the cheering faces there, so happy to be able to bring home that win. We'll look at that winning point once again. Payne. And that one has two options moving into space. Kantorovic brings that down for the win. You can see the rest of the field is staying wide, staying clear, keeping out of the action, making sure there's a channel, and either Link or Kantorovic are coming down with it. There you have it. Bristol, your women's division champions for London Invite.
So I think the biggest thing here that even on turns, but break chances, Bristol with 18 break chances, Iceni with 11.
Yeah, a really close game in the end. We did say it felt like they were evenly matched. Hard to say what the difference was. I have a feeling as the game wore on, and I just feel like Bristol were just that little bit more clinical in some of their options. There were moments of messiness, but I think Iceni were just consistently overthrowing their own players, giving those turnovers back to Bristol. But then we look at the stats, and you know, they're really sort of neck and neck. Very few clean holds.
Across the board.
Across the board. So yeah, it was a tough day. It's been gusty, and these players have been fighting it out here in the division.
For the play of the game, we have Kennington Doghouse as the sponsor. Just going to be showing up now. You can see here Stewart with the disc for Bristol. And that massive layout grab by Kat Johnson, just right in front of the camera. Incredible game she had, especially in the first half, as Bristol were kind of taking it away.
Yeah,
and that's where they got their gap.
This is definitely the play of the game. Kennington Doghouse choosing a great one.
So, as you may have seen, Bristol and Iceni both won all of their pool games. Bristol with the Universe win over Spice in the semi-final. Iceni much more comfortable, 12-6 over Smog. But in the end, Bristol take it over Iceni, 11-9, with £1,000 given to the winner. So congratulations to Bristol women, winners of the women's division here at London Invite. Thank you so much for joining us. Please do stay and watch the mixed division final with us here at London Invite. My name is Alana Archer, here with Rachel Douglas and ULTI.TV. Thank you for watching.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, ultimate.
ULTI.TV.
So far, you were getting by some rum and cola. Wasn't brave enough yet just to talk to you. Not a smooth talker that I met you.